Suppose Karl Popper and Friedrich August von Hayek and even Isaac Mozart want to describe this constitution of theirs, which upheld pragmatism, which upheld the principle of experimentation. Well, how would this regime on a local level be precisely put into practice, and what kind of bordering would that require from one city to the next? On what structures of democracy and how would this hierarchy exactly be envisaged? Well, if you imagine a deterioration of the principles, for instance, of the Swiss Republic, by maintaining such a system whereby the lowest level are the communes, die Gemeinden, les communes, the next level would be the cantons, and the higher up level would still be the national, eidgenössische government, the federal government. What exactly would it prescribe to its subunits if it were to take seriously the possibility of experimentation in a pragmatic sense? Perhaps some of you do not know what I'm talking about, which is quite all right. What my meaning is, the following example may perhaps enlighten. Well, say you wanted to experiment with socialism, and I mean the type of socialism that is non-utopian and on the level of nationalization, or perhaps even cooperatives on a grander scale, so a larger part of the economy than has been experimented with before. So maybe perhaps over 50% of the economy turned into cooperatives, worker cooperatives, which is not very different from a normal functioning of a... Well, it has a few differences. Thus, my question: if the federal government would allow such experimentation on the local level, for instance, in a city, within a city, provided that it can be studied and understood in a certain isolated fashion and in a way that would not be distorted by the national economy. Well, and the powers that be would tolerate such because of their pragmatic attitude, insubordinate behavior on the part of perhaps a commune. Well, a Swiss commune along the Lake of Geneva or some other part of this wretched land. Well, I see there some limits to be imposed, some unintended consequences, perhaps, that might befall a political discussion. For instance, if someone were to propose a utopian planning, a utopian revolutionary experience, or even a theocratic experiment with the argument, well, since there are no counter-arguments, since there is no scientific evidence yet put forward that, for instance, a nationalization of such and such an industry would not deteriorate the whole human race into oblivion? Why not try it in a little commune as a pragmatic experiment? And since there are no counter-arguments to God, why not experiment with a theocracy? Since there are no experiments that show with definitive finality that a utopian revolution will not succeed, then why not try it? Or that we cannot uphold a kind of primitive anarcho-communism of the past and put it into the present? Well, why not try it out on a local level, like the Mushano Koji Japanese fascist tried to do on his own terms back in his native country. And indeed, the Chinese anarchists who influenced Mao's understanding of utopianism and whatnot. So my question B, or my conclusion to this brief thought experiment, is certainly there are limits to the logic of a pragmatic politics of experimental nature, since what is not testable or falsifiable becomes quite a dangerous pursuit indeed. But it seems to be sanctioned by the current multiculturalism, for instance, to have little communities experiment with their own theocracy, which I find abhorrent. This Moroccan mint does it quite well for my throat ache. But let's see. On top of this rule, that must be quite a secular imposition upon the whole structure of the Constitution. There must be additionally, and let me just note on that latter point, not just secular in the sense of opposing out-and-out religions, but also this ideological, non-pragmatic kind of politics that we sometimes see creep into our systems of party democracy. Well, on top of that, on top of those rules and regulations, there must be some kind of delimitation between the commune level, some kind of autonomy. And I quite deliberately chose the example of the Swiss Republic because in our current state, the autonomy or the quality of autonomy seems to be the highest and has been measured to be the highest among the European nation states. Thus, it only seems fitting that Switzerland becomes the first terrain of this kind of experimental politics of degenerate constitution making on the local level, at least on the commune level, at least perhaps. But there are in play always these centralizing forces which the bloody French, have established. It is a birth characteristic. It is not something that it's quite inseparable, to the idea of a Helvetian republic. Therefore, we will see what the future holds on this question, won't we?